Giant Stalker, Dragon Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Demon Stalker, Rift Stalker, Grown Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Scourge Stalker, Wind Runner, I'm a pony, Elite Skill Hunter. A Death Dealer, a Life Stealer, that's just the cost of being awesome sauce.
And welcome to episode 267 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
And I'm Delirium from thrillthewild.com and that Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
All right, today is Sunday, February 25th, 2018, and we are broadcasting live on twitch.tv. You can participate in the live chat room where our lovely moderator, Alessandra, is there to take your questions. Is she there to take our questions today? I haven't seen her today either. We're missing a few folks, but I do have, like I said, Delirium's here, Synth is here. I'm hoping Bendek will show up, because he did indicate he would probably be around. But hey, we're here. We've got enough. We've got a quorum, as they say. So we've got a show finally.
All right.
Although I have to say, I've been out of it for a while. I've been away for the last couple of weeks here, so I've been trying to keep up with the changes. And I don't know, are any of us in the alpha right now? I don't think so. I'm certainly not. But I don't know about, have you managed to sneak your way in there?
Yeah, I've gotten a little bit of playtime in there, but my account is not flagged for alpha yet. So
okay, say no more. We don't need to get we get the gist of it. That's cool. So you know someone who might be in the alpha, then it sounds like.
Yeah, something like that.
Did you change their password? That's what the first thing I probably would have done.
I did not, but yeah. Anyway.
But good deal. So, all right. So you've had so why don't we talk about that first? We have some pet changes to go over. There was a big blue post we've got coming up here to discuss. I think you were asking if that information is still valid. As far as I know, it is. I mean, it was officially from Blizzard. I mean, everything right now is subject to change, right? I mean, we're in very early stages of the alpha testing. They are hopefully listening to gathering feedback. And so none of this is final. But generally speaking, I think we tend to have a pretty good idea of where they're headed and what they want to do. But as far as your firsthand experience playing it, how has it been so far?
Oh, incomplete. I mean, I haven't done anything outside of, training dummies. So it's just been testing abilities and figuring out what does what, and trying to guess what they're, attempting these. I don't think any of the specs are anywhere near complete, of course, but it's just trying to guess at where they're trying to take the specs, what they want the rotations to look like. And I don't know. I mean, it's been fun. This is some of my favorite time of playing the game. It's just, nobody knows how to play this correctly yet. So we're all trying to figure it out. So it's a lot of fun for me.
No, and that makes sense. I mean, right? I mean, so is it still such that we're kind of in that hybrid state, if you will, where have they touched things a little bit, like Beast Mastery, have like touched it a little bit, but not enough? Or is it just they haven't really touched it at all? And whereas something like Marksman and Survivor, which you seem to have gotten the most information on, they've kind of gotten them into like their first real iteration of where we expect them to be.
Yeah, BM's what I know about the least. It looks like they've started changing, or they've started making some of the changes without really making the core changes to the class. So I mean, I probably shouldn't speak on it. I don't know much about where BM's at right now. But the others, yeah, like Survival, is a complete overhaul. Marksmanship's a complete overhaul. So it's basically starting from scratch on both of those. So you get at least more of an idea of where they're taking the spec. Whereas BM, they're not doing a complete overhaul, or at least not as drastic. So it's harder to guess based on the small changes they're making where the spec is going to end up.
And I thought I did see somewhere that the one thing they were going to maintain and was going to come in the way of a talent was the ability to have two pets out at once for Beast Mastery.
Yeah, I'd have to check with somebody else in the alpha, but it wasn't working last time I tried. It's not implemented yet, but they did announce that this new talent was going to give us a second pet. So for everybody who's loved having Hattie that you can dress up as whatever pet you want, that's back, and I believe Bindak was talking about how that kind of satiated some of his worries because he could have like a purely cosmetic pet. Whereas with some of these pet changes we're about to talk about, there was some worry that, well, if you have one favorite pet, you wouldn't get to because it's not the right specialization anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And to that end, and I think the second pet, like with the dual pet, is going to be maybe a little bit more limited than what we're seeing with Hattie, but that the idea was at least going to obey kill command, but and perhaps not much else beyond that. In fact, it wasn't even clear that it would be better than Dire Beast, for example. But it's just the idea. It's just something they introduced in Legion, and it was nice having that second pet, and they gave us that little orb where you could actually, transform Hattie and make it look like whatever pet you wanted. So, we don't necessarily need that ability this time around because you can just, choose whatever you want for your second pet. So, hopefully it's a decent talent. I'd almost prefer to see them make that baseline, but maybe there's some people that don't want BM to always have a second pet. I don't see a downside to that necessarily, other than mechanically pet pathing issues and things that might pop up.
I don't like it taking up a talent slot. I mean, is Lone Wolf now no longer a talent slot on MM?
That's right.
Yeah, so I wonder if they could do something like that where it's a toggle and just make it baseline. That way we get our choice, because right now, they have to balance the use of, and if it ever becomes best in slot, it becomes mandatory, and then if it doesn't, it becomes, no one will ever pick it except for cosmetic reasons.
And what are they doing with Lone Wolf? I know they were making it baseline, but is it did you say it was a toggle
no, it's just
ability now?
If you take your pet out, then you lose the buff. It's an 18% buff,
okay,
if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And when you have your pet out, so people have told me I'm wrong about this, but I swear at some point at BlizzCon, I was told that it was going to work this way. And then a month ago, they announced that it is working exactly this way. So I'm pretty sure somebody told me this at BlizzCon, though I might be making this up. But yeah, so it's just works exactly how, the logical, reasonable way you would expect it to work.
Which is kind of nice, right? Because that way marksmanship hunters aren't locked out of having a pet if they want to choose. Because I think the hunter and the pet is just something that should be available throughout all the specs at this point.
And sometimes sometimes you pull a elite and you realize halfway through that you can't tank the damage. So it's a good quality of life change too.
Completely agree. Well, let's talk a little bit about these pet changes. There was a giant forum post done by the official developers for World of Warcraft, and
do we know who this person is? It wasn't a developer I recognized.
I didn't recognize the name. It was Solaris or something like that. I have no idea.
Okay, I didn't know if we might have a new. I know Muffiness has been promoted over the last few years and can't spend quite as much time on hunters as he used to. I think often like pets were his pet project, but
yeah, he did a nice job, right? He introduced like the whole Hattie, probably did that, but he introduced the Gara
quest. Right, yeah, those quest lines
and probably the other one that we was
the Fellwolf.
For the Fellwolf. I can't remember that. I remember it, but but he did a lot of things like that, right? He was always into making pets and putting together some of those pet challenges that we had, which was kind of nice. But in this post, there were sort of 4 things that they were addressing. One, they wanted to sort of move past the idea of a DPS/tank pet specialization, maintain and reinstate pet family uniqueness, expanding access to bloodlust, and the removal of battle res from pets. And then they talked about a variety of pet ability packages. I'll just read a little bit of it here. So what they said as far as moving past the idea of the DPS/tank pet specialization, they said in the battle for Azeroth, all pets will have equal damage, health, and armor. All can tank or DPS equally. Choosing to put a particular pet in the tank spec, they said, feels outdated. So we're going to shift all pets to a setup that will work as though they're spec'd into both ferocity and tenacity in Legion terms. And they said all offensive and defensive abilities, such as Blood of the Rhino and combat training will be rolled into every pet by default. And then they're going to charge will be removed, and all pets will have growl and dash and swoop. And then some specific activities will be distributed where appropriate. And then they went on to say, we are keeping the names of ferocity, tenacity, and cunning because they want to just confuse the hell out of us, I suppose, at this point with the changes they're making. But they did that as the broad groups that all families fall into. And they said they are no longer changeable, and each has a new passive and active ability that are useful in almost any situation. So this idea here, it's a little bit confusing to me in this respect. I understand what they're saying. I like this. All pets will have equal damage, health, and armor. But correct me if I'm wrong, isn't one of the passive abilities for tenacity pets to give them a little bit more health at this point?
Well, it gives your hunter and the pet a little bit more health.
Yeah.
So you get 10% max health for both you and your pet.
Right. So, but I guess, is that enough to make it like desirable where you'd want to have a tenacity pet then?
Yeah, I mean, so for me in raid, tenacity is amazing. You get both. Maybe we should go through all three of the new abilities.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump down to that, and then we can talk about some of the other stuff.
Yeah, so we've got ferocity, tenacity, and cunning staying the same for some reason, but ferocity gives you primal rage, which is basically bloodlust or ancient hysteria. Even though, as it currently exists, a couple of pet classes still have ancient hysteria, so they've got it twice. Though you still have a 10-minute cooldown, but oh well.
I would
They
imagine
have said at least that they're getting rid of that. And then Predator's Thirst, which is just 3% leech for the hunter and for the pet, which isn't nothing, but is not a huge amount. Tenacity, which has come out the clear winner as far as I can tell, gives you, as we said, a passive 10% extra health for both you and your pet, and a 20% damage reduction cooldown, which is basically the same as the druid cooldown that they have, is something bark skin or some kind of bark. But it only lasts 6 seconds and has a 3-minute cooldown, which is just, both of those are excellent. Especially this, both tier and this expansion hunters have just been so squishy. Really excited about having the opportunity to raid with both of those. And then Cunning gets Master's Call, which has only been available in PvP all expansion, and Pathfinding, which is just an 8% movement speed buff.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice. I mean, I don't know which way I'll go. Obviously, as you said, I think for raiding, tenacity seems like the way to go, which I guess what Spirit Beasts were changed to tenacity pets, and everyone just sort of said, what's up with that? You know, this was before I think it was announced that the damage that tenacity pets would do would be fine, that that was going to be normalized across the board. So now all of a sudden it makes Spirit Beasts a pretty good choice, and they still get their mend pet ability as well. So that's actually a very nice pet to have. So they're kind of desirable again. But you know, I just think if I'm out and about, maybe just doing some general questing or something, and not going to take on anything that's too difficult, the cunning pet might not be bad, just because that 8% movement speed is always kind of nice. That's a nice little quality of life. So I can see some advantages there, just out doing things. But I don't know. Seems like ferocity, just what's the point?
Right, yeah. If you don't have any mages or shamans or whoever.
Right, if bloodlust is needed. And of course, they did mention too that they are taking away all of our abilities to do the battle res. We will no longer have that utility at all anymore.
Yeah, which I'm fine with.
I'm fine with too. I always never liked having it. It was always kind of awkward to do it with a pet. I think they improved it. I mean, initially, you know, you had to be practically standing on top of the individual in order to do it, which in a raid situation wasn't ideal. There were times where I had a hard time finding the person that needed the battle res, but I think they increased the range to make it a little bit easier. But I always found it to be inconvenient, and I'm fine to let other people have that responsibility.
Yeah, not only
what
that.
I would really like, this is a little off topic, but to replace losing battle res is an out of combat res, so that we don't have to wait for everybody to run back after a wipe.
Oh, isn't there an item for that? An engineering item? It's like a
Yeah, the pylon.
oh no, not the pylon. There's actually like a bowl or something that you can set on
Oh,
somebody and it'll res them with like 2 health.
I don't know.
Uh,
Could be. I dropped engineering.
no,
I did too. I might have to get that back for this time around. Although they did make it much easier to swap out professions nowadays.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one more point on the battle res loss. Battle res has been changed everywhere. I mean, like, especially with the Mythic Plus changes, where you are only allowed, what is it, 3 or no, 1 battle res at the beginning, and then you earn 1 every 10 minutes. Um, it's way less important to even have the battle reses on every character. Back in the day, you just you just cycle battle reses if you were doing a particularly high Mythic Plus, and yes, you're losing 5 seconds, but you would just use up your battle reses as much as you could, because each one was on the independent 10-minute cooldown. Whereas now it has that raid mechanic where you basically use up a shared pool of battle reses. So definitely way less impactful in the next expansion if they keep that methodology of shared pool of battle reses.
Oh, T Cardinal says it's called Brazier of Awakening.
That's it. Yes.
Brazier? I
Yeah.
think I said that word wrong.
Yes. Brazier. Brazier?
That's
I don't know.
something else.
I think I always said it was the Brazier, not like, whatever. It was a Brazier of Awakening.
Yes, that thing. Anyway, yeah, that thing's usable in day-to-day or in world in the world, but not usable in Mythic Pluses.
Yeah, so it says place an enchanted brazier on the ground that will resurrect one nearby party or raid member after combat has ended. Does not work on players whose spirits have been released.
Mm.
So it's kind of wasted, right? Because that I don't know what it is. Even though I can't, if I had like a gold for the number of times someone said, "All right, don't release," and everybody released anyway after a wipe, yeah, I never have to earn another gold in the game at all.
It's pretty nice in like in heroics if you're just like bumming around, or if you're trying to 2-man some heroics heroic raids or normal raids. It's pretty helpful. But yeah, like I said, I don't really see the loss of battle res as too much of a downside here nowadays.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of MM lately anyway, so I haven't had it. So I'm not losing anything. Anyhow, yeah, both Cunning and Tenacity look great. I would think that Tenacity would be the go-to choice for raiding, but Cunning is also a very strong choice. 8% movement speed is significant. There's a lot of, at least for MM, there will be a lot of times where you want to start casting again, or you have to break a cast, and having just a little bit of extra movement speed can make a big difference.
Yeah,
as far
movement
as
speed,
planning your movement and such.
Exactly. I think it can be a little bit underrated. I mean, years ago, gosh, I mean, when we first started out the podcast, I'm trying to think. We interviewed someone from, well, they're long gone now. What was it? I think it was Insidia. Whoever the one of the first guilds to be sort of top world first. But they talked about how they had movement enchants required on all of their raid members just to get that little bit of extra speed to get from point A to point B. So, I mean, there are definitely some benefits to being able to move faster, and there may be some fights where you want that, at least until you get super familiar with it and know where to go and when to go.
Yeah, and of course, Master's Call is fairly rare that we need it during raids, but have been raids where, in the past when we had access to it, that it was definitely beneficial, and a lot of other classes were stuck waiting for root breaks, and we were just free to do whatever we wanted. So it'll be nice to have that in addition to post haste every once in a while.
Right. Now, do we know what the impact this will have to Hunter soloing at all? I mean, or it sounds like maybe it won't. I mean, you just still use it, or maybe it won't matter as much what type of pet you use, or you probably will use a tenacity pet for that, or has this kind of
there's still
taken a hit here?
There's still a lot of them that are a lot of pets that their special ability is like the turtle shell. So I think we'll see those brought out for anything that needs special pet tanking. though I'm not sure what what kind of bosses can really use that. We might have to get Shoot or somebody on here to explain the significance here.
Yeah, it looks like there are still special abilities on certain pets, like spell shield, the 50% reduced damage taken. It says each pet family will get one of 6 different abilities. Each ability will have a unique name themed to the family. Precedent abilities such as ankle crack, 50% snare, monstrous bite, healing reduction, debuff, etc., already exist in the game. And we're exploring adding something similar to tranquilizing shot, which, by the way, I think that was going to spirit beasts.
Yeah, Spirit Beast have a trank shot on them.
Yeah, so that gives you
As
double.
they exist right now, at least.
That gives you double trank shot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying what? Yeah, so I think so. Right. So one from the pet and one from us. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, spirit beats, they're probably gonna get nerfed. Why want to get too excited about them right now?
Well, do they still have their heal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they're still gonna have the men pet. They said
Spirit Men.
spirit men.
We all have Min Pet.
Yeah.
Really? So wow, that's going to be a lot of utility for spirit beasts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Spirit Mend has ever been huge for PvE content, but it's definitely something.
Well, I think soloing, especially if they're a tenacity pet and they have another trank shot and a spirit bend.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see how a lot of this works with Lone Wolf in particular. Like, will there be some fights where, the raids kind of go into shit and we really just want to pull out a pet to get that extra 10% health and a little DR just to finish off the fight at the cost of 20% of our damage? Or even a Bloodlust is now in the option with Lone Wolf, since it's only going to take you a couple seconds to pull out that pet, or 1 GCD.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Marksmanship where you, like you said, you are going lone wolf primarily. Does that just add a little bit of extra thought into the mix there? In terms of strategizing your fights, whereas everyone else just going to have a pet. Period.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially with something like survival of the fittest ability for tenacity, and that's 20% damage reduction. I can't say how many times that would have saved me, at least this tier. And if I could have just pulled it out in 1 GCD and had an extra DR, that would have been huge.
So overall, it seems like the pet changes aren't quite as dire as they were initially, as we initially thought. I mean, what do you think? Was it better now with Legion being able to choose the specs, or is this actually better, and does it truly eliminate the need to have to do that? In other words, they've taken care of it.
My stance has been that this is great ever since even before this article came out by Solanas with just the data mining out. I think these are all brilliant. I like the idea of animals being in a specific kind of mindset, like they have these abilities, they don't change specs. It doesn't seem like something pets do. So I have no problem with any of these. And of course, everyone I've seen is, all the forums, very reasonable, thought out responses. Nobody really freaked out about this at all. So good job, everybody.
If only, right?
Right. Well, I think this post said that they did kind of explain things and alleviated a lot of the concern, at least on my part. I feel pretty good about it. I wish they had said something about, pet stables and kind of just taking it one step further to let us know what they have planned for that. Hopefully they have something planned for that.
You know what they should do? They should use the transmog system for pets. Just make like every single pet in a book essentially, and then call them out as you need them, and obviously give them a name. And then if there's multiple of them, just make them a drop down for that particular.
Yeah. See, I'm also very against that.
No, you're not a completionist. Well, no, that would just get rid of stable slots entirely, and you could just.
Right. I want stables. I want a limit.
Oh,
I don't think you can love all of the pets. I don't want them to be like battle pets, where they're meaningless. You don't
oh.
really have a relationship with them. I
Well,
want to have a
but
relationship with each pet I have.
you can name them. You can name them.
No, collect them all.
This isn't Pokemon for you.
This is not Pokemon for me.
I don't know if I have a strong opinion one way or the other. Other than we need more. I mean, if they want to do limits, that's fine. It should be a pretty big limit, though. They at a minimum, I think they would need to double the amount of stable slots that we have now.
Well, there is a way you can double the number of stable slots you have now. Just roll a second hunter.
It's not the same though, and I've done that. Right, I do have 2, 3, and 4 hunters, and I do get different pets on some of them just for that reason. But no, I need to have the majority on one pet. Like Darkbrew needs like most of the pets, if not all the pets, most of them. And I have like no room to collect anything new. There's a whole ton of them from Legion that I haven't even
Yeah. See, if
bothered with.
if you did the transmog idea, you could actually share the pets across all your hunters. See? Ah.
Yeah, I'm against that also.
Oh, what?
Need a unique experience of taming these pets and
Well, no, you still have to
loving
tame
and-
them. You still have to tame them to unlock them, so you still remember taming them, and it's
But
just
that was a different character.
oh what? Psh.
It's very strange which very unique things I decide to RP in this game. But that's one of them, damn it.
All right. Foxy says they need to turn the lodge into a zoo.
Yes, that would be cool. I'd be okay with you having your little zoo of or whatever you were saying, like basically like the battle pet menu. But only if you can't access those pets. They're just, a page in a book. Like I saw them.
So like a Pokedex.
Well, I imagine that's the way it would be, right? Because they would. Because I don't think they'd want to replace the stable, right? So they'd still want you to only have 5 of them on you at any time, and you could probably just, as you say, view it, see which pets you have, maybe see which ones you're missing. But you'd still have to go to a stable if you wanted to choose which ones are active, if you will, that you're carrying around. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
pretty sure I don't think they're gonna change that at all, because we already know there's an engineering device that'll be like a portable stable, if I recall.
Well, yeah, I don't think they're going to change any of this. So
No, definitely not. I'm
but-
just talking in general. But yeah, I mean, transmog, you need to have a transmog vendor to change your appearance. You can't just, do it in the menus without having bought the mammoth or whatever, the yak. But yeah. Anyway, let's. There's a lot of actual news to cover though, so let's move on a little bit.
I feel like that's a pretty big tradition here at the Hunting Party podcast. Is there's a lot of news to cover, but we just argue about pet stables.
Oh, that's a good point.
But if they do give us more slots, then we got to start thinking about what is the next thing to really complain about.
Taming druids.
Because I'm worried. Yeah, there you go. Because I'm worried that they will address this in some fashion. I'd be shocked if they didn't. But so what's going on? You said you've been playing marksmanship. We have some notes here about marksmanship changes. So what's going on with this spec, and how is it starting to shape up?
Yeah, it's
BfA.
It's a pretty odd one. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of identity at the moment. So there's basically 4 abilities. Aimed shot, which we all know it's a long cast now, even longer. But aim shot, and then quick shot, which also dumps focus and does not very much damage. Steady shot to regen focus, and rapid fire, which is a 20-second CD channeled and gives you a little bit of focus for each cast it makes, which is every, I think, 0.3 seconds it shoots off an arrow. So there's not a lot of, it's a simple kind of core rotation of just those 4 abilities, and then whatever you do with everything else. Hunter's Mark was going to be part of the core mechanic when the alpha first came out, but they've removed that. It's now a talent that just does a basic. I mean, it's basically like the old Hunter's Mark, but you can't just leave it up forever. It's you put it up and do 5% more damage to that target. I think I can't find my notes on Hunter's Mark. True Shot is the cooldown right now, but it doesn't do anything interesting. It's just a generic damage buff. No haste, no attack speed, no crit. Oh, and Trick Shots, I guess this is the only interesting change, is now baseline. It's a kind of the main AoE mechanic that after you multi-shot, it allows aim shot to hit multiple targets, or rapid fire to hit multiple targets. So it kind of adds some of the weaving that we used to know, like how we used to do bombardment weaving back in, I don't know, was that MOP? But really, there's nothing like, oh, this is what I'm excited about. This is, this is really interesting. It's just, basic spec.
I mean, it sounds like it's been simplified a little bit. I mean, is there much in the way of a rotation at this point?
It's hard to tell. I mean, right now, aim shot's incredibly powerful. Quick shot is incredibly weak, and those are the two focus dumps. And so it's, build with steady shot, and then aim shot is also on I believe it's 12-second CD with 2 charges. Maybe somebody in the chat room can correct me on that. I don't have it open on Wowhead right now, but so there were a couple of mechanics that required using it twice in a row. I can't remember what, maybe out of the talents or some of the weird mechanics are still in there, but it looked like they removed a lot of that. So no vulnerability, nothing really to make it complicated, except in whatever changes you add through the talents.
And TK Cardinal was noting in the chat. He said the good news, which you just said, was no more vulnerable, and he said the bad, you have to stand still even longer as a marker.
Well, you do have, however, you have the quick shot option, so you at least have something to do other than arcane shot while you're moving. So you're not just infinitely building focus with steady shot. You can steady shot, quick shot, which is something. I mean, it's not much, but it's something.
Yeah. I do want to point out though that the Heart of Azeroth thing is probably where they're going to put all the interesting stuff. I'm actually okay if they make the base kit vanilla, if they put the interesting stuff as choices later on, instead of everyone getting one particular interesting thing, which then is no longer interesting. The Heart of Azeroth is supposed to be like our the rings that you unlock are supposed to be the equivalent of the artifact weapon unlockables nowadays. And yeah, I mean, I can definitely see, if that stuff is where things change. Now, that's assuming that's what's going to happen. We have literally no information about that right now, so.
No, that's a good point, right? Because that was sort of meant to be a replacement to the weapons that we have now, to the artifact weapons, to some degree. It was what I thought that was their goal there. So I think what you're saying makes sense, right? We may get a lot. Our rotations in our class kit may be fleshed out via that system this time around.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with those kinds of items changing our rotations too, if that's something that they want to do. Because back in the day, we would change our rotations if we got like a 2 set tier bonus or something particularly powerful, like what did MM play with all of the first patch? The snakes, that AoE'd. What? Crap! I'm completely blanking on the name of that ability, that talent.
Sidewinders.
Thank you, Sidewinders.
I was hoping you'd keep on trying for a while.
But yeah, talents can change your rotation, and I think if they make, since they're getting rid of tier sets, if they make these abilities choices on your rotations, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm assuming they're going to do. So that it'll just be like instead of tier sets, we'll have this. But I don't know. It could be stuff as big as the artifact weapon, like where you get all new abilities. So I don't know. I'm curious to find out, but I have no guess as to which direction they'll go with it. Or
Yeah,
maybe
no,
they'll do both, and some of it'll be boring artifact type changes, and some of it'll be big rotational changes, which is probably what they've got to do, I guess. Can't
yeah. I
have
mean,
everything be a huge change to your rotation.
no, not especially not all the time. And otherwise, you just never learn it, and just be too frustrating to see it change constantly like that. But I know, I guess it's not implemented yet in the alpha, but I don't know, have they documented any of this? Have they given a lot of information about what they're planning to do? I don't know that I've seen anything along that details the system.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I can't remember seeing anything, but I don't watch all the blue posts unless they say something about hunters.
So we have here that there's some notable talent changes coming. Camo is back along with Trailblazer. I guess that's got everyone excited. Swift Wind, which reduces the cooldown of, which was that aspect. What is that? AOTC? Cheetah, excuse me.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. I'm glad Camo's back for marksmanship. I was really the only notable part about that. I don't know why I wrote those other things down.
Yeah, Camo is one of those great abilities. It just always looked cool, if nothing else.
We got that in MOP, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could have been, it might have been Kata. Maybe it was, I don't want to say maybe it was Kata, but I don't know. One of those two.
It could be. Mostly I remember because it was back when Frostheim was doing his poster like meme challenges over on the Warcraft Hunters Union, and there were some great Predator versions or Predator Hunter kind of posters that he put up.
Then there was precise shots that gives you free quick shots every time you aimed shot.
And then we've got volley, which has changed. It's instead of getting a volley every time you auto shot, it now drops. It has a chance to drop. That is, whenever you multi shot. So it's a chance to buff your multi shot, I guess. I didn't look at BM and see if they have the same option here for volley, or if it's going to be the old style for BM. But I think that makes a little bit more sense. Just, I don't know. It didn't make auto shot's always been a little weird. Just that you get all this free damage without doing anything. But I thought volley was a little too much. So I like that it's at least connected to your multi shot.
And then what else was, you had bombardment, giving you a tiny bit of focus with multi-shot crits.
Yeah, that one's weird. It's 3 focus for every multi-shot crit, and I have no idea why. Like, it seems like multi-shot costs 25 focus, so I guess it makes AoEing a little bit less painful, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a odd one to me.
And
so
then
if you're hitting 4 targets, you might get 6 back.
Yeah, and again, it's early, right? So we don't know how this all shake out. Lethal shot gives trick shots a 25% damage buff. It's always good. And then rapid killing reduces the cooldown of aim / rapid fire by 1 second for each extra target hit with trick shots. And then calling shots reduces the cooldown of true shot each time you quick shot. Foxy's asking, are they trying to force us into AoE rotations with these changes? It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is going to be a very separate. It's not just going to be, like right now we basically just replace arcane and multi-shot as marksmanship for AoE, except for the 1 or 2 weird fights with sidewinders or whatever that trash fight is where a lot of people use Sentinel or whatever. But yeah, rapid killing I think sounds really interesting if you can get a big pack and can really land a lot of multi-shot, aim shot, multi-shot, aim shot. Your damage is going to go crazy. It's I think, did we say it's a 12-second CD on aim shot? So otherwise, you can only do 2 per pack basically. Before most packs die fairly quickly once melee get a hold of them. So getting a chance to get off a few aimed shots, I don't know. It has potential to be cool at least.
And then as far as like the animations for some of these, have they still look like they're works in progress? Anything? I saw a video, I don't know, a few weeks back, which showed some of the animations. I think they're mostly survival related.
Yeah, as far as I've noticed, I didn't pay attention to marksmanship animation. Survival, it was kind of obvious because there's this big giant eagle you're shooting out all of a sudden. But
yeah, so I mean, it looked like a lot of those were just throwing stuff basically at the target. You weren't shooting things as much as you were just throwing things now.
yeah, but I didn't notice if there might be some for marksmanship. That's not something on my radar.
There was the chakrams, and like you said, the big eagle that just sort of, the spectral eagle, a few other things. There was one that I think had a just a bad animation. It was serpent sting or something like that. It just looked weird. Like I said, it just looked like we spent more time throwing things instead of shooting things. But yeah, I mean, it's good so far. I guess. I mean, it's just a long way to go. When is the release for this? It's September
I think September 21st.
1st. Yeah,
the final date we've gotten on, or at least by.
at
I
least
assume
by
that
it,
means
right?
it'll
Right.
be
It
on
wasn't.
September.
Yeah, it wasn't like an official date. It was, no later than this date, which makes sense. That's pretty good. And
Yeah.
I don't know how much they'll have planned to release between now and then.
Yeah, if since Legion came out August 30th, it would be exactly 2 years if they released August 30th this year. It'd be 2 years between the expansions, and that's pretty good. That's about right. I mean, we've pretty much expected it by now, every 2 years.
Yeah, did they just give up on the notion of not having a year-long final tier every expansion? And we just assume that's what they've got to do?
Yeah, I mean, this one hasn't been quite a year. I mean, it was November 28th is when the raid came out, so it'll be.
Oh, okay, so 10 months.
Yeah, so it won't make it a year. It'll be, closer, but. And then they gave us that other patch since then, which with the new,
It's not a real patch.
with the leveling changes. I don't know, and the new races, which I haven't tried yet.
Oh, you haven't? I've got my new elf up to, I don't know, almost 80. Kind of lost some steam. When they first came out, I was really excited about getting 4 new hunters up and leveled, but leveling takes forever.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do one of the I don't like elves a whole lot, but these ones look better than the Draenei. Like the Lightforged Draenei just literally look like lighter Draenei.
Yeah, they've got cool tattoos though.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't that impressed.
I mean, that's what the elves are too. I think
they are.
Horde got some better deals than the Alliance did. I really like the Horde options, but the Void Elf is the one that I've actually leveled the most, and I don't know.
The Dark Iron Dwarf, I'm gonna save a slot for one of those. Those do look kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Dark Iron also, and the Fire Beards. I guess that's basically the big changes. Everybody has, it's just another race with different hair or horns in the case of the Tauren.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think that, we'll probably get more changes here, and with each build we'll find some new stuff. I'm just trying to look through some of these now to see if there's anything truly notable.
So
Like I said, it looks like they're starting to touch Beast Mastery here a little bit.
yeah. So what do we know about survival? I mean, I know there's a lot of changes, but is it still a mostly melee class? Can we play it ranged at all? Do you know?
No, you can't play it ranged as it currently exists. I mean, not without taking a huge hit to your DPS.
Because kill command is 50-yard range right now on even on survival.
Sure.
And are they remove flanking strike?
Well, it's a talent now, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I guess you you keep your harpoon so you can still go in. But a lot of their abilities are ranged, other than lacerate, I guess.
Raptor Strike.
Oh, well, isn't there like a ranged cooldown that you can?
Yeah, there is a cooldown. So every 2 minutes or something like that. I think it's aspect of the hybrid.
Aspect of the eagle. There it is. The range of your
I'm pretty sure it's aspect of the hybrid.
the range of your mongoose bite, or sorry, raptor strike, whatever, is increased to 40 yards for 15 seconds every 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's what? So it's temporary. It's like a temporary buff there. So it's not making you truly ranged in any way.
Yeah, and even then, as it existed last time I tried, at least, you don't get your auto attacks, which are those melee swings with your big old two-handed is a pretty significant chunk of damage. So losing out on that is, I mean, it's going to be it'll be nice if you have to go into range anyway, but if it'll still be a damage loss overall, unless they change it, which it looks like they might have. I just noticed that on the latest data mining, that's not that spell's not in there, so I might have to log in and look at what's going on for survival. I haven't played it in about a week.
Well, like I said, we'll plan to come back here in a couple weeks and see what the next round of changes is. But I think that's probably going to do it for today. I know, Synth, you got to get rolling here, and I don't really see too much more news here to cover. So with that, you have been listening to episode 267 of the Hunting Party Podcast. I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brew Hall on Twitter.
And I'm Delirium from thrillthewild.com and at Delirium Hunts on Twitter.
All right, check us out on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or at our RSS feed to your reader. And of course, we have all of these links available on our show notes.
If you have a question or a topic you would like us to discuss on the show, email us at huntingpartypodcast@gmail.com or send us a tweet at huntingpartypod.
All right, stay thirsty, my friends. Remember to drink your dark brew lager.
Siempre prestar la emoción de lo salvaje.
We need to get one for Synth. Synth, you need to have an outro at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta figure something out.
Life stealer, that's just the cost of being awesome sauce. A dues payer, a boss slayer. I rock out with my lockout cause I can jump shot. EM, MM, and SB. I can rock out any tree. Never worried about my threat, cause I've got FD and misdirect. Catching loose mobs in my traps. I never miss, cause I am hit capped. Cause I'm the hunter, not the marked. I'm the fighter, not the spark. I'm the kiter, not the kite. I'll top the meters every fight. Rated in the cave, dealing death. Just me, my gun, and my trusty bed. Now let's begin with Illidan, Osirian, and Gil'jadan, Magdamar, Asgalor, Gruul, Cthulhu, and Razorgore, Onyxia to Ragnaros. Which one have we killed the most? Kel'Thuzad to Malygos. We even killed a Kama's ghost. Feels like we're getting close, all that running as a ghost. Anubarak, Yogg-Saron, Nefarian, Sartharian, Nyctherodon, Sapphiron, Lucifer to Sulfuron, Archimon, Amalon, Coromon, and Algalon. The faction champions, the death toll rolling on and on. Garvale, Executus, Chromagus, and Jarexus. Molnir will kill us. We won't stop till we kill our boss. I'm a hunter.